a carnival that we are not allowed to record the entertainment or whatever, but I will throw something together. I don't know if I will do a voiceover because that might defeat the purpose of like the entertainment, and I don't know, either or. I will figure it out, but look for that. Also, last week's video, just to clarify what happened, I did a 2-hour video for the Titanic for the true crime tier. My plan was to let you guys watch the video with no ads and then put it on YouTube with ads. Patreon has this new policy that you're allowed to directly upload directly to Patreon, because usually you have to go through YouTube or Venmo. But my file was way too big, so I didn't know we had, a maximum limit or whatever. So anyway, I thought I was defeated, but then I said to myself, what would happen if I upload the video twice to YouTube? And that's exactly what I did. I uploaded the Titanic video twice. So you guys have your own link, which I did not put ads in, and then YouTube has the other link with the ads. So it actually all worked out. So there's that. But as you can see by the title, you're probably like, enough with the water. And I agree. But I guess between doing my research for the Titan sub video and then doing my research for the Titanic video, my YouTube homepage now is flooded with natural disasters, shipwrecks, airplane disasters. By the way, if you are interested in airplane disasters, there is this channel called Green Dot Aviation. Oh, he does a phenomenal job. It's interesting, right to the point, and he breaks everything down on what actually happened. Now, I would say like 99% of these plane crashes or incidents actually happened back in the late 70s or 80s, and because of the tragedies, airplanes today cannot make those same mistakes. And I would like to also point out that most of these airplane disasters did not happen in the US. So but either or, I think airplanes now are more safer than cars, if I'm being 100% honest. So, but anyway, that's how the Costa Concordia actually fell upon me. It was on my homepage in regards to like cruise disasters, and I'm like, well, I'm going on a cruise, so perfect opportunity to do this true crime. I have to say, this story was some bullshit. It had nothing to do with the actual cruise ship. The boat was fine. There was no hurricane, no iceberg, none of that shit. It was actually the effing captain. Oh my god, it was actually the effing captain. This story. This story is amazing. And so let's get to on January was on the first leg of a cruise around the Mediterranean Sea. It was supposed to be a 7-day voyage around the Mediterranean Sea, around the Italy area. When she deviated from her planned route at Isla del Giglio, she sailed closer to the island and struck a rock formation on the sea floor. So it wasn't an iceberg, it was a rock. This caused the ship to list, meaning to lean, and then to partially sink, landing unevenly on a underwater ledge. Because it is really hard it's really hard to sink a cruise ship nowadays. But the story gets better. I can't. I actually can't. Although a 6-hour rescue effort brought most of the passengers ashore, 33 people died. 27 passengers, 5 crew members, and actually the crew members, the 5 that actually died, they were the ones that were, we'll get to that, but they died as soon as the ship hit the rock. And later a member of the salvage team. So again, 33 people died, 27 passengers, 5 crew members, and later a member of the salvage team. An investigation focused on shortcomings in the procedures followed by Costa Concordia's crew and the actions of her captain, our lovely fucking captain, Francisco Schettino. Okay, so our lovely captain, right? He had been working for the actual cruise line since 2002. He had been the captain of this actual boat, this actual cruise line, the Costa Concordia, for 6 years. He was a captain since 2006. So when this happened, it was 6 years. So he knew this boat inside and out. You hear me? And this is a lovely time to let you know that our lovely captain, oh yes, our lovely captain was married, but he actually had his mistress on this boat with no ticket at all. She just walked her ass right on the cruise ship and was like, let's go. I actually found out that that's actually illegal to do. You just cannot walk on a cruise ship with no ticket and just go sail off. But so yes, our lovely captain left the ship prematurely. If you do not know, the captain is supposed to be the last person off the cruise ship. He is supposed to be leading the evacuation. He is supposed to make sure that no one's left in their cabin. He's supposed to make sure that his entire crew gets out, his staff, all of it. The captain is supposed to be the last one off the ship, or as they say, go down with the boat. You are not supposed to be on the shoreline watching your boat sink. As he left the passengers. Do you guys hear what I'm saying? He was basically like, fuck this, I am out. He did not care. I just can't. So our lovely captain left the ship prematurely. He left most of whom were rescued by helicopter or motorboats in the area. Captain Scantino was found guilty of manslaughter and 16 years in prison. He got 16 years. Despite receiving its own share of criticism, the Costa Cruise and its parent company, Carnival Corporation, did not, I repeat, did not face criminal charges. The Costa Concordia was declared a constructive total loss by the cruise line insurance. The total, you ready for this one? The total cost of the disaster, including victim compensation, refloating, towing, and scrapping costs, came out to $2 billion, more than 3 times the ship's $612 million construction cost. The Costa Cruise offered compensation to passengers to $11,000 per person to pay for all damages, including the value of the cruise. Only 1/3 of the survivors took the offer. Okay, let's just talk about that real quick. I've been sitting here trying to figure this shit out. I cannot figure out why only 1/3 of the survivors took that money. Because see, here's the thing, right? Yeah, they are survivors, but knowing the fact that your life was put in danger because of one man and their crew, you had to evacuate the ship. I'm pretty sure you didn't have time to grab your jewelry, your clothes, your passport, whatever you had. All your belongings are gone. And I know, I just don't get why everyone didn't take this money. Because think about it, $11,000 per person. Say you had 4 people in your cabin, 2 kids and 2 adults. Like, just the mental aspect of it all. I am actually 100% surprised that only 1/3 of the survivors took the money or the offer. Because even like during my research and going through like what the survivors went through, honestly, just listen, I commend them, but I am taking every penny they are throwing at me. So I also would like to just say that this boat was really phenomenal. The Costa Concordia was the top of the line cruise ship for that line. It was luxurious, right? It featured 4 swimming pools, multiple, I like that, multiple casinos. Listen here, I have been on like 7, 8 cruises, I don't even know at this point, and they only ever had 1 casino. So for this one to have multiple, that's actually really impressive. 4 swimming pools. I only actually recall 2, because usually on the cruise ship they have a pool on one side of the deck and then on one side of the boat, and then they have another one on the other side to prevent overcrowding. So for this one to have 4 swimming pools, multiple casinos, and reportedly the largest spa on any cruise ship. So, and like I said, it was a 7-day cruise of the Mediterranean Sea. 1,023 crew members and 3,206 passengers. As the Concordia approached Giglio Island several hours later, it deviated from its standard course, moving closer to the island for a maritime salute, a common practice that included the cruise ship sounding its horn. The Concordia had performed this several times in the past. Now, during trial, our lovely captain said that before approaching the island, he turned on the alarm system for the Costa Concordia's computer navigation. Now, see, here's the thing. If he did not do that, right, the GPS would have basically went crazy and telling him that the boat was too close to the shoreline. I just can't. But our lovely captain turned off the computer navigation. He quotes, "I was navigating by sight because I knew those seabeds well. I had done the move 3 or 4 times. I obviously, you did not know the seabeds really well, but we'll get to all of that." He also claimed, because see, here's the thing, the captain never took full responsibility for anything that happened this night. He was blaming everyone. And so he claimed that the Costa Cruise managers told him to perform a sail pass salute on the night of the disaster. Previously, on August 14th, 2011, the ship took a similar sail pass route, but not as close to the shoreline, aka the rocks. The 2011 sail pass was approved by the cruise line and was done in daylight during an island festival. Now that's interesting because, like I said, he is trying to blame everyone, stating that the cruise line told him to do it, blah blah blah. It was done before in the past, but it was done during the daylight. Now there is live footage from 2011 in August that we see our lovely captain on this actual boat cruising by. But like I said, it was supposed to be done during the day, but he was known on doing it at night. But because he had his mistress on the boat, he wanted to impress her. I cannot stress enough how many reports said he was trying to impress his mistress. So he wanted to get closer than normal. I don't know. I just don't even know what to say. Let's actually continue. In many reports, it did say that he wanted to get 1,500 feet to the shoreline. That is extremely dangerous. Again, when you go on a cruise ship, and you get to an island, if you notice, the boat never pulls up right on the shoreline. Usually you have to take a ferry or a little boat or fishing boat, whatever, to the island. It goes back and forth all day because the cruise ship is too big to be on shore because of rocks and everything else. So if anyone's been on a cruise ship, you actual ferry. But when I tell you I am hauling ass back to my cabin, I hate the ferry, and I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I'm actually really rethinking, am I getting off the boat for Bermuda? Because that ferry ride sucks. Ugh. Anyway, the area was known for rock outcropping, and at some point, such a formation was noticed in the ship's path. Our lovely captain of more than 7 years ordered a change in course. But, due to language issues, the Indonesian helmsman steered the boat in the opposite direction. So the helmsman is the one who actually steers the boat. The captain tells him what to do, and he does it. But here's the problem, and I don't know. If you're gonna have positions like the captain, the helmsman, the bridge officers, whatever you want to call them, right? I feel as if you need to speak the fucking language. The prominent language on this cruise ship was English and Italian, and our lovely helmsman didn't speak neither one. How do you have, cause see, again, if you're like a cook, or maybe, I don't know, the cleaning crew, folding crew, whatever, cleanup crew, I can understand that maybe you don't need to speak the two prominent languages on the cruise ship, right? But like, if you're steering the boat, or a captain, or even if you have to deal with the passengers, don't you think they should speak the effing language? I'm just so confused. Like, if you're just making beds or whatever, and I'm not downplaying anyone's position, I'm just saying that, like, again, if you're the one making beds and stuff like that, I can understand why maybe you don't need to speak English or Italian. But if you're captain and you don't speak this, I WTF. So, again, due to language issues, the Indonesian helmsman steered the boat in the opposite direction. It reportedly took 13 seconds for the bridge officers to realize the mistake. The boat's bow ultimately swung clear, but the stern collided with the reef, and so at approximately 9:45 p.m., the Costa Concordia hit a massive rock, puncturing several water compartments and leaving a massive boulder in the hull of the ship. Confusion on the board resulted in conflicting orders, but the damage had already been done. The Concordia side was hit, and it suffered a 174-foot gash, tear, whatever you want to call it. So it actually hit mid-ship. So again, similar to the Titanic, they saw the problem and they tried to steer it really, really fast to the left. So it didn't like hit the front of the boat, but it got this side of the boat, and that boulder ship lost power completely, and the 5 crew members that died were the ones who were down there in the compartments. Because remember, from the Titanic video, it also applies here with the water chambers. If one of the water chambers get damaged, the doors automatically shut down. It seals it to prevent it from the water going into other compartments. So either the men were stuck down there, or when the water struck, a lot of the electrical stuff, they got electrocuted and died. So the 5 crew members were the ones down in the compartments when it got hit. But like I said, losing power is the worst possible things within seconds. So within seconds, they lost all electrical power, meaning the ability to control the ship. Or they couldn't control the ship, they couldn't steer the ship. There were no engines, and they could not adjust the rudders, basically the steering. All power was gone. Now think about it. And the generators, some of them worked, some of them did not. So with very little light they had, the crew could not really get the situation under control. They couldn't see. At least with the Titanic, it took 2 hours and 20 minutes for the Titanic to sink, right? But the Titanic had 2 hours and let's say 10 minutes of power. They lost power when the boat split. But at least they had power. They still had things they can do. On this cruise ship here, they lost all power. They could not sail the ship, go forward, go backwards. It was basically like a toy right now in the middle of the fucking ocean. That is crazy, all because the captain wanted to get a little bit closer to the island to impress his mistress. I can't. So, like I said, in addition, with neither of the engines nor the rudder functioning, the ship could not be steered. However, the wind and the stuck position on the rudder caused the Concordia to turn back towards the island. So once they lost all power, right? There's nothing they can do. The boat was actually floating back out to sea, and there was nothing, absolutely nothing the crew or the captain can do at this point. So could you imagine if that boat got swept out to sea? It would have been a disaster. Truth be told, more than half of the people on that boat would have died. If that boat got taken out to sea, half of the people would have died. It would have been more casualties, I promise you. Because in the middle of the ocean, eventually the boat would capsize, and it just would have been like, no, I don't even want to think about it. So the strong winds that night, and the position where the steering wheel basically was stuck with the strong winds actually helped push the cruise ship back towards the shoreline. So it was actually drifting out to sea, but the wind was like, nah, I got you, and pushed the cruise ship back. It was just swinging it back. Crazy. If it was not for the wind, I tell you like this, more than half would have died. Amazing. While the change in direction made the later rescue easier, it caused the ship to start listing to the starboard side. The drifting eventually ran out near the shore. Okay, so the listing, from my reports, the listing was was leaning to this side, and then to that side, and then to this side, and to that side, which is actually worse because the ship is now going back and forth, leaning back and forth. Why? Well, this should bring you some type of comfort. And all the cruise ships now, they have something called cross flooding. I hope I can explain this. Because water is heavy as fuck. When a ship gets struck underneath or the water or compartments are damaged, cross flooding kicks in. So if a ship is leaning to one side, other compartments open to allow the water to flow in so the boat can go even. So the cross flooding allows the boat to stay in one position. Why? Because this allows you to do the evacuation. If a ship is listing to one side, the lifeboats are useless because if it's listing, right, say this is the boat straight up, if it's leaning to one side, that means these lifeboats are useless. They can't launch them. There's no way of launching the lifeboats. So what's the point of having lifeboats for all passengers if the boat's listing? So the cross flooding allows the boat to stay in one position, allowing you to evacuate and get the lifeboats going. That makes perfect sense because the cross flooding usually allows the boat to just flow down evenly. So the boat would just float down like this. It wouldn't go to one side and then sink. It would sink evenly, giving you time to launch the lifeboats. I hope I'm making sense. So the cross flooding allows a boat to stay afloat or stay equal long enough for you to launch the lifeboats. Hope that makes sense. Alright, during this time, a panicked passenger contacted her daughter in Italy. Now, inside the ship was a complete disaster. When I say complete disaster, I mean complete disaster. had experienced a blackout. What in the actual fuck? So right now you have the opportunity to let the Coast Guard know you were in trouble. Your vessel was in trouble. Your passengers are in trouble. But yet you downplayed it to a blackout. I don't know if this was embarrassment. I don't know if it was because he had his mistress on the boat and the tabloids or whatever. I don't know what it is, but he actually downplayed the whole situation. And I also want to say that I also found out that people from the island of Giglio actually called the captain. I guess because, like I said, they had a connection. I don't know. But they also called the captain and asked if they needed assistance. Because here's the thing. Giglio is chilling. The cruise ship is coming closer than normal. And then all of a sudden, it lost power. And then it's drifting. But then it drifts back. But then now it's listing back and forth. Like the people on the island are actually watching this. So when the captain is telling them that's only a blackout, they're like, yeah, I don't think so. 10 minutes later, so at 10:14, the Coast Guard called and the captain downplayed, noting that the vessel had experienced a blackout. 10 minutes later, that puts us at 10:24. Remember, the boat hit at 9:45. We're now at 10:24. The Coast Guard contacted the ship again, and at this time, the crew admitted that the vessel was taking on water. However, our lovely captain his only request was for a tugboat. I cannot, I repeat, when I read that, I'm like, so if you don't get it, the tugboat is actually something that they use to be able to pull the cruise ship to, I guess, whatever destination or to our actual port or whatever. This man did not ask for any other help with the evacuation, nothing. He asked for only a tugboat. I can't. At 10:39, so you have to understand, at this point now, the captain knows that the passengers are panicking. They are trying to get to the deck. They're actually trying to get off the boat. The captain is ordering them to go back to the cabin. Like there were so many opportunities that they had to get these people ship, whatever. This man went back to his own cabin, and actually changed his clothes. So you have the time to go back to your cabin and change your clothes for what? For what? I have no, like, and then him and the bridge officers got on a lifeboat and left the ship. They left at 11:20. They left the ship. They left the ship listing, leaning, aka about to sink. He left the passengers on board. He gave no evacuation directions, none of it. He didn't conduct. The man got in a lifeboat with the other officers and basically said, "Fuck this." If that is not bogus. Oh, by the way, he did take his mistress. I forgot. I'm sorry. No, he did grab his boo-boo. He grabbed his boo-boo, and the rest of the officers got in a lifeboat and took his ass to shore. Just left. just left. Now, it gets better. So during trial, our lovely captain had the audacity to say that he fell off the Concordia and landed in a lifeboat. Okay. Some 13 minutes later, the last crew member departed the bridge, even though approximately 300 people were still on the vessel. So here's the thing. The people on the bridge, the AKA bridge, are the helmsman, the captain, first officer, second officer. The most important people on the entire ship are on the bridge. They left, and the last person on the bridge abandoned the ship. There was still 300 people still stuck. It's like, I have never, I don't know. So by 12 o'clock in the morning on January 14th, the Concordia had a severe list, making the release of lifeboats difficult and forcing many to use the ladder. So now the boat is listing so bad to one side, leaning to one side, that they cannot launch the lifeboats on one side. So now if the boat's on its side like this, people are actually, they're sliding off and then getting into a ladder and climbing all the way down to get into one of the lifeboats to go to shore. Now, if the captain wants at 9:45, if he abandoned ship, then there would have been no problem with the lifeboats. They would have had more than enough time to get everyone on the boat and, safely. But he did not. And there has been recordings of the captain and their first officer, or whatever you want to call it. They're having a discussion safety, abandoning shit, like absolutely nothing. They were trying to get their story together. I can't make this shit up. And they were all supposed to say that there was a blackout. Crazy. At 12:40 a.m. I cannot wait for this next part. At 12:40 a.m., a Coast Guard looked around and realized that there was somebody missing. Now everyone is on board, and like I said, many people called and asked the ship they needed help. The people from Giglio, the Coast Guard, there was actually another cruise ship in the area and saw that the cruise ship had no power. They called the captain asking if he needed help. He declined them as well. So everyone that called for help, he declined, right? And so, at 12:40 a.m., the Coast Guard captain, like I said, looked around and was like, "Wait a minute, where the hell is the captain?" So, the captain was in a lifeboat with other Concordia officers, and so the Coast Guard called the captain, and yes, I got the transcripts. So, we gotta start from the beginning. So, like I said, the Coast Guard realized that there was one person missing. Okay, there's a lot here, because I actually had to find, like in English. So, the Coast Guard called the captain. Coast Guard, hello? The captain, yes, good evening, Commander. Coast Guard, listen, and he actually introduced himself. This is De Falco from whatever city in Italy. Am I speaking with the captain? Our lovely captain said, yes, good evening, Commander. Coast Guard, could you please tell me your name? Our captain, this is Captain Scatino. Captain. Coast Guard wanted to make sure he heard it right. He said, Captain Scatino. The captain said yes. Coast Guard, listen, Scatino. Below the bow of the ship, starboard, there is a ladder. You will climb that ladder and go back on board. This Coast Guard, and you can find the recordings on YouTube, this Coast Guard was so angry. He was taking no shit. Like he should have been a captain on this boat. He was not taking any shit. The Coast Guard again said you will climb that ladder and go back on board. This is a grown man yelling at another grown man. He did not care about nobody's feelings, hurting anyone. Like he did not care. He said you will climb that ladder and go back on board. You will board the ship and report to me as to how many people are left on the boat. Are we clear on this? Then the Coast Guard continues to say, I am recording this conversation, Captain Scatino. I am recording everything. So then the captain speaks, but unfortunately, like you can hear in the recording, that he was mumbling something, but we didn't understand. So the Coast Guard yelled, speak up. Then our lovely captain started getting tongue-tied and he was babbling and all was mumbling, everything else. The Coast Guard yelled, "Make sense and speak up, Captain." Like, the Coast Guard didn't want to hear no excuses at all. So then our lovely captain says, in this moment, the ship is listening. The Coast Guard said, "Yeah, okay, I got it." Coast Guard says, "Listen," and he's yelling, "There is people going down the bow ladder. You will go up the ladder instead." I love it. The passengers are going down. The Coast Guard is telling him, "You will go up the ladder instead. You will board that fucking ship, you fucking prick." I mean, it does sound like me, but that's not my words. That's the captain. "And report to me as to how many people and what they have aboard. Are we clear on this?" And the Coast Guard continues, "You will tell me if there are children, women, or people in need of assistance. And you will tell me the number of each of these categories. Are we clear on this?" So basically the Coast Guard is like, you're going to get back on that boat and you're going to do your fucking job. You're going to go to every single cabin and make sure no one is stuck. You're going to go into the kitchen. You're going to go everywhere. You need to make sure that everyone's off that boat. And you tell me women, children, people in assistance, and people are dead or people hurt. You get back on that effing ship and you do what you're supposed to do. And then Coast Guard is like, "Are we clear?" The captain says absolutely nothing. Then the Coast Guard says, "Look, Scatino, you may have saved yourself from the sea, but I'm going to make sure you get in trouble for this. I'm going to make sure you pay for this." And then the Coast Guard says, "Now get back on board, you fucking prick." His words, not mine. Then the captain, our lovely captain, starts pleading, "Commander, please, please." And then the Coast Guard's confused. The Coast Guard's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing, Captain? You're not moving. I told you to get back on that boat. Why are you still on the phone? What are you doing, Captain?" Then our lovely captain says, "I'm here on the shoreline coordinating the rescue." He's coordinating the rescue from the shoreline. The Coast Guard says, "What are you possibly coordinating from there? What could you possibly coordinate from there? You're supposed to be on that boat. You get back on board and coordinate relief efforts from aboard." And then the captain says absolutely nothing. And the Coast Guard says, "Are you refusing?" Our captain, No, I'm not refusing." Coast Guard, "Are you refusing to get back on board, Captain? Because now he's about to end the conversation. He is completely over it." Scatino says, "No, I'm going." But he didn't. The captain says, "You will tell me the reason on this recording why you are not going." Our lovely captain, "I am not going because there is the other lifeboat that is stalled." Coast Guard yells and gets louder, "You get back on board. That's an order." Like, at this point, the Coast Guard, like, if we can see fumes coming from his ears, we would have seen it. He was so pissed and disgusted with our captain, our lovely captain. "But, Commander, do you realize that it's dark and we can't see anything?" Coast Guard, "And so what? You want to go home, Scatino? You want to go home? It's dark in the boat and you want to go home. Is that correct, Captain? Is that correct? Is that what Coast Guard go up the bow of the ship by means of ladder and tell me what can be done now. And then the call ends, but the captain never got back on board. He never, ever, he just hung up and just did absolutely nothing. By this time, however, the rescue operations included 25 patrol boats, 14 merchant vessels, and numerous helicopters. And by early morning, 4,194 people were evacuated from the Concordia and taken to the island of Giglio, which had a permanent population of less than 1,000 people. So think about it, this island had a population of less than 1,000 people, and now all of a sudden you have 4,194 people on your island. But I have to say that all the survivors, passengers, said that the island of Giglio was basically heaven. I mean, they were giving everything they had: food, water, shoes, clothing. They even had like a little temple that people were praying. You know, they made beds. Like I have nothing bad to say about the island of Giglio. They literally did their thing. At 6:17 on that morning, search efforts were temporarily suspended because they were afraid of the boat falling completely over. By the following day, divers rescued 3 more from inside the Concordia. They were the remaining survivors. Could you imagine that you are the last 3 on that boat and no one can help you, and you actually were stuck for like 3 days? Actually 2 days. But still, like, the boat now is completely on its side. Like, the panic. That's what I'm saying. I don't understand why they didn't take the compensation package. So, while the vast majority of the ship's multinational personnel held positions that did not require a seaman's qualification, as they handled service like laundry, cooking, entertainment, cleaning, children, and waiting tables. According to a senior shipping official, they had received mandatory training in basic safety to be able to help in situations like this. Although all of them spoke at least basic English, but most spoke no Italian. See, that's the point I was trying to make. Like, depending on your position, and the 2 prominent languages on the boat, right, was English and Italian. I would think if you had like a position like a captain or a helmsman, you were permitted. It's like you had to know these 2 languages. But like I said, if you're a cook or laundry, you know, I can understand why, but they still had basic safety training. Several passengers asserted that the crew did not help or were untrained in launching the lifeboats. This allegation was denied by the crew, one of whom stated, "The crew members, whether Filipino or Colombians or Indian, try their best of our ability to help passengers survive the shipwreck." Comments by some of the passengers that we were unhelpful have hurt us. A third engineer officer from the ship engine room also pointed out that unlike the captain, we were all there until the end. We did all we could to avoid, and actually the Costa crew CEO praised the crew and personnel despite difficulties resulting from the apparent lack of direction from the ship's officers passengers and problems in communication. So that's what I'm saying. Like, most of the staff probably did not know what was going on, and they were actually probably waiting for the captain to give them direction. But if they're out of the loop and don't know what's going on, the captain's not telling them anything. They actually cannot answer their passengers' questions. Because here's the thing, I think the passengers who said that they were unhelpful, I think a lot of them wanted to know what was going on, why there was a blackout, this and that, and the personnel could not answer the questions because most likely they did not know. But I have to give the crew give credit where it's due, right? And they did everything they could, and like we read, they were the last ones off the boat. The captain and crew is supposed to be the last ones off the boat, so at least they did not ditch the passengers, and they tried their hardest to do what they can. 3 people reportedly drowned after jumping overboard, and another 7 were critically injured. The local fire chief said his men plucked 100 people from the water and saved around 60 others who were trapped in the boat. 5 helicopters from the Italian Coast Guard, Navy, and Air Force took turns airlifting survivors still aboard and ferrying them to safety. You see, a ferry, that's my point. Like, a ship cannot get 50. He was trying to get 1,500 feet to the shoreline. Absolutely not. Yeah, absolutely not. Ay, ay, ay. Alright, so almost immediately questions were raised concerning the conduct of Captain Scatino and the other crew officers. In July 2013, 4 crew members and the Costa crisis coordinator pled guilty to various charges, including manslaughter. They received sentences of less than 3 years. That same month, Captain Scatino went on trial after being denied a plea bargain. He was charged with manslaughter as well as causing the wreck and abandoning the ship. During the 19-month trial, prosecutors claimed that he was an idiot, while the captain countered that his actions had saved lives and that he was being scapegoated. This is what I'm saying. Like, the captain took absolutely no responsibility, because remember, when he found out that the passengers were heading to the deck for the lifeboats, he ordered and made an announcement and made the staff tell them to go back to their cabins, but of course many didn't listen. And in addition, he noted that the steering error was made by the helmsman. But a maritime expert testified that regardless of the helmsman's mistake, the collision was unavoidable because overall the captain wanted to deviate from the actual GPS and get really, really close. Again, 1,500 feet, and no ship should have ever done that. In February 2015, Scatino was convicted on all charges and sentenced to more than 16 years in prison. He appealed the verdict, but it was upheld in May 2017, and Scatino began serving his sentence shortly afterwards. And I do want to say that the other 5 officers, because of Italian law or something and overcrowding, they actually did not see any actual jail time. But our lovely captain is definitely in prison, and he will be in all of his appeals. I think 2 or 3 were denied, so he will be serving his 16-year sentence. So there is one thing also too that I found interesting. Right, and like I said, the captain was detained with numerous penal codes and code of negligence and prudence, and because of that, resulting in 33 deaths. And you left the passengers unable to fend for themselves and not having been the last to leave the shipwreck. But either or, I found interesting, where is it, that was it on this? Oh, right here. In 2015, the report indicated that the ship had been carrying a large amount of mafia-owned cocaine when it sank. Although senior officers were likely not aware it was on board, I wondered if the captain, because it said senior officers, I wondered if the captain knew about that, because it also says here there was something about his there was something about his drug test. I think it said something that his drug test it came, oh, right here on February 19, 2015, the report, his drug report had traces of cocaine had been found on his hair samples, but not within the hair strand or in his urine, which would have indicated that he had used the drug in the past, but it's unconclusive, like if he used it during the actual ship. But actually, if he did, it would have been in his urine. So basically, he is a cocaine user, but I guess he didn't use it in a few days on the cruise. But I do find it weird that he tested positive for cocaine, and then there was a large amount of mafia-owned cocaine when it sank. So you can take that as you want it. And so that concludes the Costa Concordia cruise ship disaster. Like I said, it took them about 2 to 3 years to actually get the ship back on its, back on its legs. Anyway, in a straight position, and then they had to build all types of stuff to make it stable, and then they had to tugboat it off, and then the boat was taken to a scrapyard. And so, yeah, that took three years about. So again, this all could have been avoided, and I don't know. Some people are just not meant to be a pilot or a captain, and I have learned that through all my researches and watching disasters. It takes a special person to really care for others, and this captain, I don't know what happens after this, but he should never be a captain again in his life. And with that, I love you guys for watching, and I will see you